Good evening, posterity. We are in the last of our weekly Zoom calls for the Working the Beat tutorial on collaborative digital tools. The last one that we'll be working with today as we wrap up this this series for the month is a program called Trello, and it is one of multiple. This is kind of just the most easily accessible, version of a task management system called Kanban. And basically, the way that it works is that tasks, anything that's getting done, whether it's a task or a project, or it lives on a card, and the card kind of moves into different stacks based on the status of where the card is. So I'm going to open up, I'm going to do the screen share. I'm going to get this out. So can you all see this board here? You can see these columns are the stacks, and then each of these items here is a card. And so what will happen is that if we want to do something, we'll create a card in the to-do list. And we hit add card. And then the useful thing is if you click on the card, there's all of this information that you can track on the card. So for example, if there was a relevant attachment that you wanted to, a file that was on your computer that you wanted everyone to, comment on, you could attach it. You can include a checklist. So, you can say this thing first, this thing second, and as you go, the first thing, you can check it off. That's, another thing that you can do is have just kind of a basic description of the card here. So this is just text and you can also include links. And so this is just like a little like mini zone for information related to something that needs to get done and that the group's doing. The other thing that you can do is you can add, if people can join the board here, and you can actually add people to the board so that they can get little notifications if they want to set it up that they can get pinged when the card moves, or if there's something that's needed from them, etc. So it's a way of kind of pointing to tasks or projects that are happening as a way of helping organize and helping people know what's going on without there having to be one person who is like the person who knows everything. And so it's like in a lot of teams, right, there's a manager, or there's a secretary, or there's someone who just knows what's happening with everything. What this does is this creates a sort of shared space where, as long as we're kind of showing our work as we go, that becomes visible to the other people in the group. And so they'll know, like someone wouldn't need to ask me or Howard, like, oh, what's the status of this thing? You could just go, you could see it on the board, right?
Is this an add-on to Slack, or is this a separate app, or what?
I'll show how it integrates with Slack in just a second. There's a way that they're connected, and I'll show you what that is in just a second. So if let's say we've created this thing that needs to happen. If let's say I'm going to start working on it, I'll just move the card over to the stack that says in progress, and so that will tell the team that, oh, so someone's working on the card, and maybe I can also leave a comment, say, hi. So you can see I can leave a comment, then that can also be tracked. There's sort of a history of all of the things that happen on the card that automatically gets tracked as you go through. And so as we go, once I'm done with it, I move it over into the done stack, and it's done. You'll notice that I've also created a separate stack over here that says notes and links. So these are for things that I just want to sort of be available for people to see. Maybe it was a project that I finished and there's a useful document there that can be there for people's reference. I've created a separate stack for that. And then this is very customizable. You can see I can create another list. And if there was another kind of category where we wanted cards to be, you just create the title, click add list, and it's there. So that's the basic format of the Kanban board. This is called the Kanban system. That's a Japanese word that I'm butchering. And the way that it connects with with Slack, is that you'll see every time that I move something on the board, it generates a little robot in the tasks channel on Slack. So it'll send a little message to this channel. You can see Alex added a new item, Alex moved this thing. So you can it just creates a running log in Slack of all of the things that are happening with cards on the board.
How do you start this?
How do
you start these cards?
How do you start
a board?
So I've already started a board for us. To start another one, you can create another one. And you just click create board right there.
And then on the upper left, that's all the boards.
So yeah, you can see for me, so like, because I have a few different irons in the fire these days, you can see that I have a few different boards of different things that I'm keeping track of, right? And so this is the board for, my working the beat stuff that I'm trying, keeping track of what we're doing. So for example, there was a question about inviting people and following up that Howard and James were chatting about at one point on the Slack. Like, you could create a checklist where, people can add names to the checklist and then they can check them off as they invite them, and we can have a running tally of who's been invited. That's a simple example of, one thing. And you can also include like some sample text for an email up here, that can be available to the group. John, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, it's just back to Howard's question, and you've probably answered this, but to open the screen in the first place, so you access it from Slack.
You can also you can use the Trello app too, or you can use it on the web, just like Slack. Like, you go to Trello.com. And what I can do right now, if y'all want to kind of play with this as we go, is I will invite you all to this board. So I will, let's see, invite with link. So I'm going to copy this into the Zoom chat now. And so if you click this link, that will take you to the steps to join my board that I've created here.
So Alex, I can Google this, but I was trying to get this when I was, doing marketing on the real side.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a paid product?
It's like a freemium thing.
Okay.
Where most of the functions are free, and I think at any level that we would need to use it, we can use it for free. And then there are some like things that you can basically, like, to have like lots of integrations, or to have it, if you can kind of like have it customized for your team and pay more for it, like that kind of thing. But it's the kind of most commonly used, at least to my knowledge, free Kanban board software. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward system, right? It's not like super complicated, but this is just one that, it works.
You use it for project management, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And in particular with distributed teams like ours, in the sense that, we're not all able to like necessarily like put it on a whiteboard on the desk in the office. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, okay, let's figure all this out together. It's a way to kind of have a space for things to live
So Alex,
in a shared online space.
excuse me, I'm sorry. It's telling me I'm at Trello when I go to there that to sign in, I already have somebody using my same email has it. There's already an
Yeah,
account. in my
you've
email.
already created an account. So all you have to do to see it is to log in. You can go to Trello.com and log in with your email.
I need a password. When did I set up an account here?
I probably made this a couple months ago and invited you then.
Oh,
Um,
okay, I'll see if I can find my password.
yeah, that's always a sticking point with these things, finding the
Yeah.
password.
Alex, one more quick point. Does it in any way function like a calendar or something? Like, does it have reminders? Is there any time function on it?
Good, great question. Thank you for mentioning that. So the way that I've used it to be helpful with that is that you can create due dates. Oh wait, I need to share my screen again so you can see that. Hold on. And before I do this, actually, just want to say hi, Dana. Welcome. You want to introduce yourself real quick? Just need to turn off your mic. Here, I'm going to unmute you.
Oh,
There you go.
okay, yeah. So hi, I'm Dana. Hi, Howard, how are you? I see
Dana.
there's a few others, John, and Alex. I live in Buffalo, New York.
Hello.
Not snowing right now. Been writing for a long time. I'm a school teacher. I do lots of artsy stuff. The things I do with jazz are, of course, I love to go to concerts, review music. I write for NPR affiliate here, which is BFO WNED. So I'm hoping to get my own kind of spin on the music through WBFO. They are a station, and so everything's got to go through numerous hands. So I am hoping that I can get my unique stuff out there through them, instead of just writing about general concerts and things that happen in the area, because I move a little bit more than some of them do as far as the music is concerned. Yeah, I think that's about it for now.
Great.
Looking forward to figuring out. I've done Zoom quite a few times for the past maybe 3 years. Every time I do it, I have to figure out how to do it again.
Right.
I'm not as good on the other connects, but they seem fairly simple. I see things come up and I respond to it. So looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say tonight.
Awesome. Thanks. So I'm going to go back to my screen share now, and we'll look
Alex,
at. Yeah.
Muted.
Oh.
could you, because I use Zoom on a different thing that I have my other computer going, is there a way you could put that invite link into Slack or somewhere that I can click on it? Or
Yes. So you want me to put that in Slack? I'll just send you a direct message in Slack.
Okay,
Will that
whatever.
work?
That's fine.
Okay. That is sent.
Thanks.
Okay. Right. So now, oh, you got to watch me do that. Okay. So back on our board here, and you can see the way to set a due date on something. So let's say that we've got our thing to do over here. There's this button over here. You can add things to the card. I mentioned members. I mentioned the checklist. You can also create a due date. And so if you know that it needs to be done by a certain time, you create the date, you create the time, you set it up on the calendar, and then you can set reminders. So you can say, I'd like to be reminded, a day before, an hour before, and then that will be how that works.
Can you also set due dates on the subtasks? It seems like you can. Those checklist tasks.
That I don't think so. What you can do is if something gets too kind of complex in a board, like you've got a really long checklist and there's things that need to get kind of broken out, one thing that you can do if you have a checklist is you can, let's say I have an item here, you can convert a list item to a card.
Oh, okay.
So like, let's say that, you know, this thing, I need to make sure that this particular thing gets done by a certain time. I could convert it to a new card and then I could set the due date there.
Yeah, I'm thinking you could maybe hack this thing to give you kind of a Gantt chart, poor man's Gantt chart, but
Tell me more about what you're thinking that would be.
oh, Gantt charts, you know, cascading to-dos, but like you can't file the story until you do the interview, or you know, do
Gotcha. Yeah.
so you know, it just gives you a kind of sequence
Hmm.
and shows you, you know, your progress through the thing, which is, you know, I was in advertising, we had a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But I
So
like,
yeah, it's very straightforward system, you know, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is because now anybody can you know, add things to a to-do list and then say like in Slack, like, hey, I'm, you know, needing to do this. I've created the card for it in Trello. Is anyone willing to help me out with this? You know, and then let's say, you know, on our thing here, you know, Elliot and John are say, yeah, I'm game to help. Then I can just add them to the board here, and then they'll get notifications through Trello when things happen.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's something to play with. But the reason why I wanted to show it is because now we can really kind of, I feel like these, going back to sort of the original idea behind you know, bringing all this to this group of people, is that now it creates kind of a, you know, a glue or a web of ways that we can more easily do things together translocally, right? Not being in the same place or in the same time zone, but we can kind of, it's kind of like a space, like a digital home for our work together. And no single tool can kind of do all of it, but when you kind of link them all together, there are things that can be, we can actually make them happen, right? And so this is the part where I shift my kind of relationship to this from being the one who's showing everybody kind of what's going on and doing things to supporting making things happen, right? So we talked last week, we went through a process of, you know, deciding that we wanted to do monthly web meetings. And so the webinar style things that I believe Dana is going to be a part of the first one. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
And so that's something that's moving. So, you know, if there are tasks related to that you know, it would be helpful to have volunteers helping with, right? That's you know, a thing that we can be using this system that we have to communicate. But beyond that, I think you know, I think everyone is coming to this because there's something that they'd like to see happen. And what we have created is a way for people to move with it, right? To do it and to ask for help and to give it a try. And so this is, like I said, I'm kind of shifting now to, I want to help make things happen, and I can help walk us through the sort of how part of that process. But I'm wondering if anybody has would like to kind of get, you know, try something, to have a project that we can move along in the next, you know, week, say? I know that
Um,
we had surfaced a couple of things in previous calls, but I also want to just like leave a little bit of space. I think if we've talked about something before, I'll circle back to it. If there's anything that anyone wants to like introduce as like an idea, something that we want to do, right? Something we'd like to see happen, something that we can use our collective presence to make happen in the short term, right? Like in the next week.
Alex,
Mhm.
John Fenton from New Zealand. I don't know if how doable this, or it may already be there available and I just haven't seen it. But it'd be quite nice to have bios of our members, and you know, they've already put up where their beat is, the sort of stuff they do. It'd be really nice to have those all in one place, like a, you know, like an online booklet that you can flip through, so that these people that we're sharing these calls with, particularly, and other Jazz Journalists Association members, we can say, oh, I'm heading to Tokyo. I must touch base with so and so. We're
we
just
do
getting
have we do have the members directories at JJA News.
yeah,
Is
We
that
also,
one?
didn't we do
Yeah.
that introduce yourself here thing also?
yeah.
So it sounds like I'm hearing that you're wanting to have like a sort of a document, basically, or like a place that a certain information is published and accessible to members, that has information about where people are, and what they're covering. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, the you know, going into the JJA site certainly does give you that, but there's a few steps to it, and it might have been, and it might not be up to date.
Could,
Well, as far as the up-to-date part goes, every member has to update their own
Right.
profile.
Yeah, no,
You
I
know,
agree.
so
didn't
that's
didn't we do this in the introduce yourself? Those have like paragraph bios in there.
Right.
yes.
So we have that thread on Lumio.
Band or whatever.
Hmm.
Okay, whereabouts is that located in Lumio? Just
I'll pop a link in the chat for you.
okay.
And
I think it's in the general thread, right?
there's a thread called "Please
Well, welcome. Please
Welcome, introduce
here.
yourself." Yeah, that's
Oh.
the one.
John Fenton, you had talked about wanting to connect more with Pacific, Asian Rim people, and I wonder if that's a project that you want to initiate.
Yeah, I'm happy to initiate that, and yeah, it struck me when, I mean, we had somebody on the first call from Tokyo. I just can't recall his name. But
Michael Franco.
yeah, and there's a bit of a circuit in from the South Pacific to the North Pacific, obviously linking in with the US as well. But yes, and it's quite an active circuit, and we get people coming from all over. But yeah, it'd be really handy to be able to tip off journalists. Hey, somebody's on a tour from East Germany. You might want to check them out. That sort of thing, and just for the collegiality. That's, you know, we're way down in the South Pacific. I find it valuable to just connect with fellow writers.
So this is a great thing. Let's start, just take this as a case study, and let's see if we can break this down into what needs to happen in order to start to build this, right? And then from there we can start to get to the, who needs to make it happen part. But for starters, let's make this a card in Trello. So I'm going to do screen share again, and we can create a card for what's kind of the lowest threshold thing that could be done as a step, John. Like, what's something like that you could, having done it, have made progress towards your goal?
Yeah, maybe the first task is to identify a manageable geographical grouping.
Okay. So you're saying identify like where you want to be in touch with people.
Yeah,
Geographic circuit.
yeah, geographic circuit,
Okay.
and that, yeah, that's not necessarily about time zones, but just a circuit that, like the one I suggested, where people might go from here to Java Jazz, and they've got connections with Tokyo, and of course with the current coronavirus crisis, that might be happening a bit less, but.
Mm-hmm. So I just made a card here in Trello. I you can to edit me as I go here, John. I call it Asia Pacific Rim Journalist Network, or I guess we'll say Jazz Journalist Network. And so this card will reflect kind of the status of how that's moving along. So and then I made a checklist, and the first item you said was identifying relevant locations and geography.
Yep.
So that is a thing that once that has happened, someone can click this little box and check it off.
Yep.
Right. So what are some other things that are going to need to happen?
Well, identify the people we immediately know should be on that list.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got maybe 3 or 4 in my head. But then I think the next step is that organizing step of inviting them to add the people they think should be on the list.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you want to just list a couple of names here on this checklist?
Yeah. I'll put Nikos Statakis. He's in Melbourne.
Nick, can you spell that for me?
Nikos.
E, Omicron, Taf, Alpha.
FOTAKOS.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not good with Greek.
Michael Pronko.
There's a guy, Russell, in Brisbane. I'll have to take out his surname.
Right. So this is the process, right? We're just getting this from our heads into a place that we can all see it. Okay. And so if other people have ideas or names, people, I'm gonna add a name here. My friend Otto Stuparitz does work in Indonesia and knows a lot of the folks in that part of the network. I'd be happy to make an introduction for you. So then I'm gonna say that, and if anyone wants to add names of people that they think would be good to reach out to, you can do that right there, and then once we have them identified, we can start reaching it out. So like this one, so the next question is, so we have people, we have a process for inviting people in. Are there anything?
I think you better draw up a mission statement.
This is what I was thinking. What are we inviting them into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd need, like you say, that'd need some boundaries.
Uh-huh.
I'll give you an example. Nikos contacted me a while back and said, I've got a group of people, I've got some friends from Greece who are arriving on a cruise ship. They've been driven demented by playing all the songs they're well over. And they need a day with a jazz guy. And I went down and met them and I toured them around the city. That's just a small thing, but I actually made some really good connections in Athens through them, and I've been invited to visit the clubs in Athens. Yeah, and those sorts of things are ongoing. You make a contact and your network grows, and we've kept in touch since. And they've actually sent other people to me for my sins and said, oh, there's a bass player on a cruise ship. She'd like to make contact with you. She wants to know where the local jazz clubs are.
Mm-hmm.
Can you send her your blog details?
So creating a way for people to connect in that way. Yeah.
And perhaps equally importantly, to connect them into the scene,
Mm-hmm.
and to give them some sense of the local scenes. But even more important than that is if there are musicians that we want to make people aware of and we know they're traveling that way, it seems a collegial thing to do. I once helped Michelle Mercer connect with some people in Korea, and she'd been given an assignment on really short notice. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that she appreciated that from what she said.
So what we're doing here is enabling communications within the this Asia Pacific Rim area, cross communications, contacts, and correspondence.
So you can see I put a little bit in the description here. This might be something that you could, flesh out into a paragraph and then just copy that text in any email that you reach out to somebody about, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
Yep.
And then the question becomes, we're inviting these people to join the conversation or to have a conversation akin to the ones we've been having, or?
Yes. So this is getting back to this question we looked at last week of using the Zoom room. This could be something where a Zoom conversation could be really useful.
Right.
You could start a channel on Slack to have the conversation, have a way for people to connect. But if as a starting point, using the resources that we have here, scheduling a Zoom meeting could be one thing that we make as a checklist thing.
This begs the question that you and I talked about, Alex, off the Zoom meeting earlier, that we should, and it was suggested by somebody named Bob Rosenbaum, who's also on the Slack app, that we consider changing the time. And for next week, when Alex does not intend to be hosting the call, so to speak, or leading the call, and for the following weeks, we don't have to meet at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. And especially, John, if you're going to pursue this Pacific Rim thing, you should be doing it at a time that you think is convenient to people within your time zone. And we should make that available to the Europeans also. I tried to contact our Russian friend Cyril Mashkow, and he said, well, at 8 o'clock, your time, it's 4 in the morning, I'll be asleep. So, I mean, this has been an ongoing problem when we tried to do these translocal communications, but we just need to hand the responsibility off. And similarly, in the weeks to come, if Alex is not going to be anchoring the meetings, and I don't think I can anchor all of them either. We might want to think about establishing a rotation of people who will be sure to be at the call on that if we're going to keep it Tuesday night or whenever.
Lumio poll. What
Yeah,
time is good for you?
indeed, indeed. We can definitely do that. I do think that it would probably behoove us. So first of all, I'll stop my screen share here. This is just walking through an example of like how we can create a card as these things happen. We can check them off, and then I know if I'm watching this that I'll be able to just know how the progress is going without having to follow up, find a time to talk to John, or wait until the next Zoom meeting or whatever. That it's there, and it'll be moving along. So it's just a matter of kind of keeping track of things as they go in here. So
And we all see this card. We all get to see this card.
yeah, everyone who's on the board should be able to see all of these things. So it's just a matter of, it looks like so far only a couple of people have joined through the link that I sent, but I can also post it on Slack afterwards so that other folks who are curious
Sorry,
can join in. But for now, it's fine. You can see through my screen share kind of what it looks like, and then on your own, at your own pace, you can kind of play with it. And again, like my role here is to help you troubleshoot, to answer questions, to if you start trying to make something work and something doesn't make sense and you can't figure something out, send me a direct message in Slack, or and we can figure it out from there. So I'll stop my share for now. Yes, I do think that our last order of business here really is kind of closing this part of the project, and I've showed you what I know, and now
Now what you know, is that the idea?
what'd you say?
That now we know what you know.
Basically, right? And so from here, what needs to happen is really going to be up to the group to think about what comes next, and to see where there's energy to try stuff and to sort of play around with these tools. So I do think that the next kind of collective conversation, which I'm actually going to stop the recording here and say thank you everybody for listening and learning along with us.